The forgotten hospital that still treats the dead. I heard the screaming before we even opened the main doors. It wasn't close, more like an echo, somewhere deep in the building. Muffled. Distant. But unmistakably human. I remember locking eyes with Dylan, and for the first time since we started doing these urban exploration runs, he looked genuinely afraid. We'd driven 3 hours out to reach St. Elora Hospital, a place wiped off most maps decades ago. A mental asylum closed in the late 70s after a fire gutted half the East Wing. There were rumors about experiments, mistreatment, secret wards. You know, typical ghost hunter folklore. We didn't come expecting anything real. Just decayed hallways, some good b-roll, and maybe a raccoon or two. But that scream changed everything. The entrance lobby was frozen in time, dust-covered wheelchairs, shattered glass, a rusted gurney tipped on its side. Faded patient charts littered the floor, their ink warped from years of moisture. But the weirdest part? The reception desk looked used. Not recently, but more like someone had been tidying it over time. There were no spiderwebs. No thick grime. The chair was still upright. Dylan muttered, "This place feels staged." We pressed deeper. The hallways were dim, light filtering through broken windows. Some sections were blocked with debris, others wide open, like waiting for us. And that smell, it wasn't just mold or rot. It was antiseptic. Faint. As if someone had recently cleaned. In the children's ward, we found something that stopped us cold. A clipboard, hanging on a room door, with a check-in sheet. The date said 2023. I stared at it, heart pounding, while Dylan took pictures. The sheet had names, ages, and even conditions listed. All of it written in the same meticulous handwriting. None of the names meant anything to us, until the last one. Dylan Hayes, admittance pending. He dropped his camera. "Is this a joke?" he asked, trying to laugh, but I could see his hands shaking. We both turned to leave, but the hallway behind us was different. The door we came through. Gone. Bricked up. Like it had never been there. We didn't speak. Just ran. Took the first corridor we saw, down a stairwell into the basement. That was a mistake. The lower levels weren't just cold, they were wrong. The air was heavy, like it hadn't been breathed in decades. The walls were different too, newer, almost clean in spots. We found an old surgical theater, the kind with the tiered seats and the domed lights above. The table in the center had restraints. Fresh ones. Leather. Untouched by time. And then the lights came on. No sound, no flicker. Just on, all at once. We froze. My body wouldn't move. Then came the humming. Not from the lights, from somewhere deeper. A low, rhythmic hum, like an old machine warming up. Like breathing. The gurney began to rise, automated lifts clicking beneath it. I grabbed Dylan's sleeve, and we bolted. The halls weren't the same. They twisted, turned, led us in circles. The signs on the walls began to shift. X-ray became obedience clinic. Rehabilitation changed to containment. The paint peeled in reverse, revealing old department names that shouldn't exist. We stopped when we heard the footsteps. Not behind us, in front. Deliberate. Echoing. Getting closer. We ducked into a supply room and held our breath. Through a crack in the door, we saw it. A figure in a doctor's coat. But his skin wasn't right. Pale, sagging in places, pulled tight in others. He moved like he was on strings, jittery, mechanical. His head twitched as he walked past, mumbling to himself. Patient stable. Prep for lobotomy. No sedatives. They don't feel pain anymore. Dylan whispered, "What is this place?" That's when we heard another voice, raspy, closer. "You shouldn't be here." Not alive. We spun around. In the corner of the room stood a woman in a nurse's uniform, but her eyes were gone, just sunken holes where they should have been. Her mouth moved, but the voice came from everywhere. They never left. The patients. The doctors. They're all still here. Still treating. Still being treated. I backed against the wall. We just want to leave. You were admitted, she said. Treatment must be completed. She raised one hand, and the doors slammed shut. The lights went out. I don't remember how long we were in that darkness. Hours, maybe. Days. We lost all sense of time. The only thing we had was the sound, the dragging of feet, the clicking of instruments, the whispers through the walls. They tested us. At one point, I woke strapped to a bed. A metal halo clamped around my skull. I screamed until my throat tore. Then I was back in the hallway, free, Dylan beside me, shaking me awake. He said he'd been walking for hours. That he saw dozens of rooms, filled with people. Some were strapped down, screaming. Others sat calmly, repeating phrases in a loop. I am safe. I am healthy. I am cured. They didn't blink. Eventually, we found a staircase that hadn't been there before. We climbed. With every step, the sounds grew quieter. The halls faded into darkness behind us, the walls crumbling again, returning to the decay we expected. At the top was a door, heavy, metal, labeled discharge. We shoved it open and burst out into daylight. But the woods were different. Too quiet. The path we'd taken. Gone. The van. Gone. There was no road. No signs. Just endless forest. We walked for what felt like hours before collapsing near a stream. We didn't speak. Later that night, we saw the hospital lights again, far off through the trees. Glowing softly. Waiting. We never found the road. We never found our way back to town. Eventually, a search team picked us up, 2 hikers who'd gone missing themselves over a decade ago. They didn't ask questions. But they kept looking at Dylan like they knew something. We told ourselves it was over. That we escaped. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wake up in a cold sweat, and the walls are clean again. The smell of antiseptic is back. I hear machines humming. And Dylan? He's not the same. He doesn't talk much anymore. Last week, I found him standing in my kitchen at 3 a.m., scribbling something on the wall. When I turned on the light, he stared at me, eyes blank. He said, "Your treatment is about to begin. If you're ever near the forest east of Greystone, and someone offers to show you the old hospital, don't go. You won't find ghosts there. You'll find something worse. A place that doesn't let the dead rest. Because at St. Elora, no one ever gets discharged. They just become staff." Follow for more and subscribe if you dare.